West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways, call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
What is on your mind, Cayman? If you are ready to talk, we are ready to listen. Here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome and thank you very much for joining us on the terrific Thursday's edition of Talk Today, as we invite you to be a part of it. Access that we have to our sitting parliamentarians, always welcome. It reminds us of the health of democracy. And today we're honored to have both the Honorable Dr. McKeeva Bush together with MP Chris Saunders. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
Email Talk Today at candw.ky. Let your voice be heard. And now, back to Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, Radio Cayman Talk Today.
Hey, welcome back, and thanks again for this opportunity to sit and facilitate. And it truly is an honor and a privilege to do this on a daily basis, especially when we get a chance to speak to members of our parliament. Welcome, Mr. Bush. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm okay, I guess. Thanks for having us on here. And I just say that myself and Chris here are moving some motions that that we want to publicize and let people know about. And so that's the purpose here. Three motions. Two is already filed. One is on its way to being filed. But the motion to increase fines and enforce road safety is something that we think is needed, and we can go through them. I can read them, and then maybe I can read them so that public understands exactly what we have, and then, Chris, we could you can take it from there. Yep. But that motion says that whereas Cayman continues to develop and traffic has grown, and whereas persons who come to live and work and some of our own local people who continue to display improper road courtesy, which results in bad driving, and whereas dangerous driving with speeding is now commonplace on all our roadways, and whereas we are experiencing a high loss of life due to dangerous driving, be therefore resolved that the government considers immediately taking necessary steps by the following actions. 1. Immediately reduce speed limits in all districts and on all roads. 2. Immediately increase surveillance and increase fines for speeding and dangerous driving. 3. Place speed calming mechanisms in all public roads. 4. Install digital speed signs capable of recording and issuing tickets. And 5. Ensure that tickets issued for infractions are paid. That is the one motion. The second motion is motion to increase ownership of businesses by Caymanians. That one says that whereas the Cayman Islands Constitution Order 2009 affirms the Cayman Islands as a country that manages growth and maintains prosperity while protecting its social and natural environment. And whereas Section 16.4 of the Cayman Islands Constitution Order 2009 recognizes that preference may be given to Caymanians with regards to ownership of businesses, and whereas the Trade and Business Licensing Act recognizes that Caymanians should own and control no less than 60% of a local business, and whereas the number of local control licenses issued is more than 200, and whereas our islands continue to develop at a fast rate, and whereas business opportunity continues to grow as the population has increased, and whereas Caymanians are feeling left out due to the many foreign nationals being involved in certain businesses. Be it resolved that government take immediate steps to amend the Trade and Business Act to increase the percentage ownership by Caymanians from 60% to 100% for the following business activities. 1. Real estate sales and property management companies. 2. Construction businesses up to $1.5 million. 3. Car rentals. 4. Water sport operations. 5. Light technology up to Cayman Islands dollars 2.5 million. Be it further resolved that government places a moratorium on the issuance of local companies controlled licenses. Be it further resolved that government immediately takes the necessary steps to ensure that properties in Caymanians are only purchased and set aside for Caymanians only by the following means. 1. That foreign developers building apartments, hotels, and such development pay to the government a 5% fee off the top of the value of the said developments. 2. That such funds be set aside by the government to purchase properties that are earmarked to be purchased by Caymanians only. 3. That when such properties are purchased by Caymanians, it cannot be used for land banking and can only be sold to another Caymanian. And 4. That the maximum amount of lots that can be bought by any Caymanian through the above means be 2 lots. Be it further resolved that government takes the necessary steps to ensure that the Cayman Islands Development Bank is given the necessary resources to assist qualified Caymanian businesses and qualified Caymanian entrepreneurs with the necessary funding to engage in business activities that are owned 100% by Caymanians. As I say, these motions are moved by myself and seconded by Mr. Saunders, Chris, member for Town West.
Yeah, I'll say Mr. Saunders too. No?
My dad is Mr. Saunders.
They are seconded by the member then from Town West. We feel that it is time. We've talked about it, and people, and I'll get it off top by saying that people likes to say that I just support developers. I support development because that's where the money has come from. Yes, we have a few other areas, but in large part, that's where what keeps our economy going. And if people think as a developing country that we can continue to develop and not place certain things in the interest, first of all, and above everything else, of Caymanians, then they are on the wrong path. And we have tried some things before and, even been tested in court to say that we couldn't do certain things. Like certain, I think it was, we were looking at certain fishery licenses, and certain, I think crabs was one of them, and that had been tested in court, and the court says, under certain laws we couldn't do anything. Well, our constitution says that we can do certain things, and I think we must do certain things at this point in time. So this is, I think, the right things to do.
The thing about it is, Sterling, when Mr. Bush came to me about these ideas that he had with these motions, it kind of took me back to my first term as an elected legislator, and it kind of made me miss some of the guys. But what it also shows is that, for me, I was inspired to see, and I said to Mac, and forgive me for saying Mac as opposed to, I said to Mac,
Chris, Mac,
yeah, is that I was glad to see Mac, as the father of the house, still has this fight and still has this passion for helping Caymanians. I was really moved by it, and that is one of the things that actually inspired me to really support it. I mean, when we used to do motions before my first term, most of my motions were seconded by either Anthony Eden or Ard McLean or Ezard. But there's a process you go through when you're asking someone to second a motion, is that you get a chance to listen to what it is that they want. You listen to the passion. You listen. There are times when somebody's bringing a motion, you're like, yeah, this is a checker box motion. That, yeah, someone is trying to do something. But then you listen to the fight. And when Mark said to me, Chris, many people out there are struggling, what I mean, and so forth. I said, Mark, I think all of us recognizes that, or most of us at least recognize that many of our people are struggling. And one of the things I've been focusing a lot, that I've actually been doing a lot of research on, and this has actually been kind of helpful in that regard, where it falls in line with it. It has been the eradication of the Cayman middle class. And I've been doing a lot of research in the sense of how the middle class itself was created, where the middle class excelled, and now where the middle class is actually falling behind. And this is not something unique to Cayman. This is actually something that's almost global, where the middle class is being wiped out. And you have always heard me talk about, you've never heard me speak about income inequality. What I've always spoken about has been income mobility, is that people given the right opportunities, it's always about equal opportunities, not equal outcomes. It's people given those equal opportunities. And what we have found now is that we had a rule before that, you work hard, you get your education, you put in your hours, you put in this, you will succeed. People are doing that and get nowhere. Because the rules have changed now, where, parents are mortgaging their house, doing all kinds of stuff to get the kids an education. Then the kids come back and can't find work. Yet you got 20-something thousand work permits. At some point, you have to sit back and ask yourself, wait a minute, what gives? And this is, for me, a situation where it has prompted me to go back to look at what it is when the middle class had really excelled. What were the rules that were there? What were the laws that were there? What were the things that were there? And now we need to return back to that. And people need to recognize, just as though we sit here and we plan to do certain things for people, people need to recognize that people out there sitting down, thinking of how to get ahead, taking their hard-earned money, not doing anything, playing by the rules, cutting corners. That's just a fact of life. That has just been business itself. So we have fell asleep at the wheel. And the truth of the fact is, Sterling, that the most frustrating thing is, we can't sit back and say that many of the challenges we have today we weren't warned about. I can tell you, my two politicians in Bordentown, Roy Borden and Gilbert McLean, and even Dr. Frank and even Steve, who has come on this radio many times, these guys have talked about these things. And for whatever reason, people just didn't listen. And now when the thing has hit the fan now, all of a sudden now it becomes an issue. When we were warned about these things, we were told, don't sell the land, don't do this, don't do that. Here we are now, struggling. So, and it's not just a Cayman issue, it's almost like a global issue with the middle class. And like I said, that has prompted my research to say, wait a minute, when did the middle class come around? How did the middle class excel? And now what steps do we need to take now to bring back the middle class? And it's going to require some hard decisions. It's going to require some uncomfortable conversations. But people need to recognize that if we don't do this, we'll have nothing for our children. Like, we'll have nothing left behind for our children. So we have to draw the line somewhere. So some people may sit down and say, well, this may sound too nationalistic or whatever, but you know what? At one point in our history, when our people did well, we had to take this kind of mindset. And certainly I'm going to collapse what I'm going to say with just one simple statement. I'm 51 years of age. I have nowhere else to go other than Cayman. This has been my home. This is where I'm born, and this is where I hope to die. And I will say this much. If Caymanians can't prosper in this country, it's going to be very hard for a lot of people who are not Caymanian to prosper. And they can read between my words what I mean by that.
With that, let's just pause. When we come back, I invite you to share more with us. Please stay tuned.
You know who this is? That same old girl that went to Hollywood and Panama? Well, guess what? The fun ain't done yet. Because this year, I'm going to country concerts in Denver. I got kick up my heels in Times Square. I got keep living the dream with Cayman Airways. We so blessed to have them. I tell you what though, this old girl's feeling younger than ever.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering international non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, Kingston, Mobay, La Ceiba, and Havana. Enjoy free rum punch, free in-flight entertainment, free seat selection, and free meals on select flights. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymanational.com today.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Summer's heating up, and so are the good times. Whether you are out on the water, enjoying the beach, or gathering with colleagues for an office bash, make it a feast to remember with Subway. From assorted sandwich platters to mouth-watering cookies, our catering menu has something for everyone. Perfect for groups of 5 or more. For food that's fresh, fast, and perfect for any occasion, choose Subway Catering. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Just in time for summer, it's the sizzling hot appliance sale at Brand Source Home Gallery. Save 25% off all appliances now until the end of June. That's 25% off on all appliances at Brand Source. Don't miss this opportunity to replace aging appliances and get 1 year plus warranty on new appliances. The sizzling hot appliance sale now until the end of June at Brand Source, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 for details. Are you ready to step into the future? Digicell's super-fast 5G network is here. Experience more lightning-fast speeds, more seamless connectivity, and more possibilities available with all Digicel bundles. Whether you're streaming, gaming, or working, our 5G technology takes your experience to a whole new level. The future is here. Visit any of our stores today and join Cayman's super-fast 5G network. Digicel. Better connected.
A CUC energy saving tip. Did you know that you can track your consumption using the My CUC app? Sign up today at www.cuc-cayman.com and start saving on your electricity bill. With CUC, you've got the power.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And thanks to Honorable W. McKeeva Bush and MP Chris Saunders for joining us and for sharing, with the public through this forum some of the motions that you have coming up in our Parliament. Mr. Bush, you?
Yeah, one thing I want to make absolutely clear is that this motion is not saying that Caymanians can't sell their land. That's not what this is about. You have your land, you're the owner, and I strongly believe in the ownership and your rights to ownership, and when you have it, you have rights. This motion is talking about foreign developers building and developing, and for us to charge a fee of that value, whatever that value is, charge a fee off the top of the value of whatever those developments are, and that the funds be set aside by government to purchase property. Government take that money and purchase properties that are earmarked to be purchased by Caymanians only. So this is doing the opposite. This is making sure that Caymanians somehow will have an ability to buy property, and hopefully at a high price, and without putting up so much money, government or that person putting up so much money.
Quick question, Mark, if I remember serving right, was it Jim Borden or Haig Borden from in the 70s or late 70s, early 80s, wanted something like that?
Yeah, they did. And they put a thing in place that said if you build so many apartments, or condos, whatever, you put aside enough for person, Caymanian, to get one. I thought about it going that way, and I said, maybe just charging, you will get more by charging off the top, right? And I know people are going to say, well, they might slow down development or whatever they might come up, whatever excuse they might come up with. But I believe it's time that we do something like this, as Chris said earlier, right? If we cannot do something for Caymanians, which Caymanians are feeling left out. I mean, I keep my ears to the ground all the time. I don't depend on social media, nor newspapers, or people getting even on the radio. I listen to, as I said, I have my ear to the ground, and I know what people are feeling, what they're saying. I as an MP, as a person, you strive to help people, but we can only do so much. But everybody thinks that, oh, you're an MP, so you can give me this, I voted for you, right? Or I can vote for you, right? And it goes very deep in the country today, what people are feeling, and the fact that people are feeling left out, and we know that some people are being left out. So this is one way of ensuring that Caymanians get something out of the development.
So the reason I ask, gentlemen, is that this goes back to the point where I said that we have always had people before in the past that have come in and said, let's do this, let's do that, and there's always been a fight. I mean, I would tease Max still to the day. I remember when he was bringing in the pension law, where he went out, and was it the town hall?
Town hall meeting.
Beat him to death, and I was working in Glasshouse at the time, and, you used to have the government ministers park onto the trellis parking. And Matt came back from that meeting, and he was just leaning on the back of his car, just leaning on it. And I remember saying to a work colleague at the time, I said, boy, that's a man who just took some licks. You know what I mean? But the thing about it is, Sterling, the one thing that we don't want to talk about, and I would say is the elephant in the room, is the one thing that's been killing this country more than anything, and that's bad mind. And when you look at the motion, we specifically spoke about the moratorium on the local control licenses. And the reason for that is this. There was a time in Cayman history for 30 years, and it's my understanding we only had 6 LCCLs. CUC, Cable and Wireless, Texaco, ESO, McAlpine, and Asphaltic. 6 for 30 years. At one point, we had over 300. And I'm old enough to remember, you would see somebody driving a new car, and a business person driving a new car, and the first thing on the person might, he fronting. So what if he finds someone who's willing to do business with him? 60% of something is still better than 100% of nothing. And we would have preferred that someone comes in and own a business 100% rather than see a Cayman and get a piece of that. I have worked in multinational companies, and I can tell you where I've seen how other Caribbean islands operate. I've seen businesses gone into other islands, even other overseas territories. And they had to go and find that local company. Companies that we were given LCCLs for in Cayman, when they tried that in other islands, they got chased out, they got run out. Cayman seemed to be the only place that they could have come. Where I've seen people get chased out of different islands, immigration run them out, the people run them out, the government run them out, businesses run them out, and they come and find a home in Cayman. And these are some unscrupulous people that we have let into this country, whether we want to accept it or not. You know what I mean? And when I look at some of the different nationalities now that are basically oppressing Caymanians, especially in the workforce, especially in the workplace, and some of the stuff that they're doing, I tell you, at some point, that line needs to be drawn. And what people fail to realize, is that while Caymanians may somewhat have lost economic power in this country, they still have political power. And the day that they rise up and decide, you know what, I'm going to go out and elect some of those far-right, radical type stuff, then people will understand. And that's one of the things I'm really hoping we never ever get to that point. Thus the reasons, if we see where something's coming from now, let us try to see if we can deal with it from now. Because if we ever allow people to really get to the point where they get fed up and saying, you know what, to hell with it, I've played by the rules and I'm getting stuff, let me go send somebody inside to just mash all of this up and start back over. And people need to realize, because in other countries, that's exactly what has happened. And they're pushing Caymanians to the point where people are just fed up and they're just going to go out and say, you know what, we're going to go with a clean sweep in terms of the mindset.
And let no one say that we are being anti-foreign national. That's not what this is about either, right? Because I say often that we could never have the standard of living, although some people want to cry it down and say that that we're not going nothing. That's not really so. We have what is the best standard of living still, and we want to ensure that that continues. And we would not have gotten this far if you hadn't had people from outside come in and invest. Perhaps, some of them I would like to have seen the back of them long time ago, but we are a democratic country. So we can't go that route, and exactly what Chris said, we don't want to get to the point where the radicalism comes in. I am a nationalist, but I'm a sensible nationalist, and sensible nationalism is what you need. That's why I fought for the social development in this country in regards to social legislation, labor laws, where women don't have to go back a week after they have babies now, right? Even got to the extent where fathers are recognized to give them time with their children, and pension laws and housing and those sort of things. Now we've developed to the point that many people are beginning to feel left out and not being able to reach that level. So we got to take steps to ensure. I think that some of what we're trying to do here will ensure that. But this is not anti-foreign national.
This is just making sure Caymanians get the right dessert in their country. And one of the things that I don't like is when people talk about, Caymanians feeling entitled. Sterling, where else should Caymanians feel entitled other than in Cayman? I've been educated in Kingston, I've been educated in New York, and I can tell you one thing. They made it clear to me when I was in both cities that you're not going to write here, you're just passing through. And I respected that. I was just in your country to get an education and split. But our people should feel entitled to coming and getting a job, getting a decent quality of living, and being able to participate in the opportunities afforded to this country. They should feel entitled to that. And so there's nothing wrong with our people feeling that way. And matter of fact, I encourage them to feel that way, because that's the only way that they can also keep us as legislators accountable. Like, what are you doing about this? And then nothing I hate more. When young people come out and can't find a job. And you can see the look in the parents' eyes, you can see the look in their eyes, and I can tell you, that is one of the things that really burned me the most, is when these young people can't find a job to feel like a productive member of society, to feel like they can contribute something. You know what I mean? And that, I'm going to tell you, people need to realize, revolutions weren't started by poor people, Revolutions were started by middle class people who couldn't get opportunities and say, you know what, enough is enough. Yeah. So they go back to and check their history, then they'll understand. One of the things which Matt just reminded me of a while ago, that was also important, was the development bank playing a part. And to kind of just narrow it down in as layman term as possible, the only way to grow an economy is by having opportunity to expand the middle class. That's the only way. That's the only proven way. And the reason why we say that is the only person that really pay taxes in our country is the middle class. The poor people don't pay it because they can't afford to pay it. And the rich people don't pay it because they just pass it on to the middle class. So the middle class really carries the burden of every economy. So that's the reason why when you see me focus on the middle class, is the only way to really expand the middle class. Now, two things that are needed most importantly, that history again have proven, that allows the middle class to grow, is access to capital and access to credit. Those are basically the two things that you need. And when, to this morning I was speaking to somebody and they were complaining about, people who are not Caymanians getting loans from a bank. And I'm like, and they were, one person they were actually speaking about was this Canadian who came here and basically had a mortgage, and they're like, Chris, how is that possible? We got a rollover policy where in 7 to 9 years, this person will have to leave. How can you turn around and give them a 25-year mortgage? I'm like, well, he said the person's from Canada. I said, yeah. I said, well, it's a Canadian bank, because the bank is actually, was owned by a Canadian, is a Canadian bank giving money to a Canadian nationalist in Cayman. Why does that surprise you? At the end of the day, it is not a Cayman bank, it's a Canadian bank. So you can't sit down and expect foreign-owned banks to be really looking out for your local people. At the end of the day, foreign-owned banks are going to be looking out for their nationals or wherever it is, in whatever shape or form they come first. That's just reality. That's just common sense. That's just life. So one of the things that we wanted to make sure is that our own bank, our own development bank, be given the resources to make sure that people who are engaged in these businesses have access to the credit, have access to the capital. Because at the end of the day, it makes no use to sit down and say you want a business to be 100% owned by Caymanian, but then they go to the bank and can't get any money to do anything with it. So, and that's why that's important. And there's one particular ratio that if you look at our FFR, that's really, really low. It is actually our ability to actually do more to help our people. And that's one of the things that I'm hoping and I'm optimistic that more of my colleagues would actually start looking at that ratio and saying, you know what, this is something that we can do. To give Jack his jacket, Joey, you had brought a good motion the other day in terms of the housing and how it should be structured in the housing. And it's a motion I supported. And even the government, I think, at the instant, didn't understand the motion at first. You know what I mean? And while they may have scored political points in the confusion that was caused by the government, because I think, they understood the motion. And then I remember the day we were in Parliament, I said to Jay, this is what the motion really is. You guys have to support it. And he's like, oh, Chris, I didn't realize it was that. And, and I take the communication and fell down, but at the end of the day, you know what I mean? The motion still passed despite the initial confusion. And understanding does that. But that is one motion that actually goes far, because it makes no use of saying to somebody, you're going to help somebody to buy a house, but no use if houses aren't being built. You know what I mean? So these are the kind of stuff that we need to start looking at in terms of to get our people participating. Because at the end of the day, Sterling, if you look at the growth in the population and you look at the growth of opportunities, the mouths to feed are growing faster than the opportunities available. And at some point, some people will starve, and some people will already tell you, Chris, we're already starving. You know what I mean? And this is what we're open to say, let us see if we can slow it down, and in some cases nip it in the bud to give our people opportunities. Because we already know, Mark is old enough, and you study Caribbean politics, you study the politics of other countries, you can see the environment being set. The same environment that created Brexit, the same environment that created the radicals to be elected, and we've seen it in other countries and other instability coming inside the political process. We need to make sure that never happens here, because if not, it's a different story.
This is something you referenced earlier. You talked about if Cayman is not benefiting, and you talked about right? And there's some people here that ubiquitous
But the thing about it is, let's be realistic. There is, and I've said this before, show me on this planet of over 8 billion people where you can find 102 square miles with over 140 different nationalities living in peace. We're not segregated, we're not, this one there, there's that one there, living in peace. I mean, you go by the cricket field, you go by the different events, you see so many different nationalities that outside of Cayman is at war with each other, but somewhere in Cayman is at peace. This is a great place to live and a great place to work. We have provided opportunities, and I would say myself as a second generation Caymanian, my grandmother arrived here in the 1940s. You know what I mean? My mother is, and my family, originally she settled in the Bracken before they moved to Grand Cayman and so forth. Cayman has always been a place that provides opportunities to people. So a lot of people have come here and have done very well, and as Mark said, they have contributed to our growth, they have contributed to our development, and they have helped. But now, of late, there's another group of people that's coming. They do not recognize the harmony that we have here, the peace that we have here. And rather than try to integrate, because our success has never been immigration, our success has been integration. People coming in and being a part of the Caymanian fabric. And when you see people now start living outside of what has been traditional, and they're now trying to get their own communities growing here, their own this and there, and Caymanians beginning to feel unwelcome in their own country and so forth, that's an issue. But at the same time, it is also deliberate. And if you want a point to look at, and I hate to put anything on point, but you look at the government, I use government as an example. Every year, the Portfolio Civil Service publishes their HR report. When you go through that HR report, when you look at government departments that are managed, or the head of department is an indigenous Caymanian, the Caymanian population there in those departments is 70% and above. And in the government departments where it is not an indigenous Caymanian, the percentage of Caymanians inside that department is below 50%. I mean, it literally almost scary to some extent, but that's what it is. You can go back, and I'll tell anyone to go back and look inside the and you'll see it. literally is like, wow. So it is almost as if though human nature being what it is, you comfortable with your own, you feel at ease with your own. And so therefore you look out for your own. You know what I mean? So that's why it is important that, key positions, especially those that are gatekeepers and so forth, be owned or controlled by Caymanians. You know what I mean? Where you want people there looking out for people. And you have people that have come in this country that have done well, and part of it is that they believe as if though Caymanians should get a piece of it. And I will tell those people with that mindset, stop it. Because that person that you're trying to keep down is a voter. And you better pray to God. And I've said this to some business people when I call them on a particular issue. I said to them, before you mess with the staff, do me a favor. There's a website called elections.ky. You go on that website, you put in that person's name, and if you see they registered to vote, and you see they registered to vote in Bodentown West, and you take them off, expect a call from me. Because the minute they call me, I'm going to be calling you. You know what I mean? And yes, while Caymanians can be the nice and the passive type stuff, and I built that way. And so you hear the term like the bully did this or that or whatever, and I'll tell you, Sterling, I say what I need to say. I like what I like, I dislike, I don't like what I don't like. It's as simple as that. Straight talk, cause no falling out. You know what I mean? And if you take advantage of people, then some people out there, you just need to go up and fight for them. Some of us are much better fighters than others, and so be it. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm one of them that at the end of the day, I'm going to fight for my people. I'm going to look out for my people. And one of these days, I will show you that email between me and the last governor. Then you will understand, what the position is. But at the end of the day, I ain't a bending and I ain't a bow. It's as simple as that.
Mr. Bush, what my mama say? I don't beg, I don't behold, I don't know burden. All right, we got a news break. When we come back, gents, you have more time. You want to talk about emotions, ask some other questions? That works for you?
Yes, the traffic one is I think both motions, but I think this one deserves
a little bit more. All right.
Talk, and the traffic one is simply because of what's happening on the roads.
All right.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that for a bit after the quick news. All right. Please stay tuned.
You know who this is? That same old girl that went to Hollywood and Panama? Well, guess what? The fun ain't done yet. Because this year, I'm going to country concerts in Denver. I got kick up my heels in Times Square. I got keep living the dream with Cayman Airways. We so blessed to have them. I tell you what though, this old girl's feeling younger than ever.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering international non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, Kingston, Mobay, La Ceiba, and Havana. Enjoy free rum punch, free in-flight entertainment, free seat selection, and free meals on select flights. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Are you ready to step into the future? Digicell's super-fast 5G network is here. Experience more lightning-fast speeds, more seamless connectivity, and more possibilities available with all Digicell bundles. Whether you're streaming, gaming, or working, our 5G technology takes your experience to a whole new level. The future is here. Visit any of our stores today and join Cayman's super-fast 5G network. Digicell. Better connected.
Information, entertainment, inspiration.
Covering Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, Cayman Brac.
Since 1976 till now.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Customs and Border Control Service announces the installation of state-of-the-art non-intrusive body scanners at both the Owen Roberts International Airport and at the Charles Kirkconnell International Airport in Cayman Brac. This enhancement in security infrastructure is designed to detect individuals attempting to smuggle illicit drugs and other contraband into the Cayman Islands. In international news, a senior German politician has apologized for the way she worded a comment about the skin color of members of the country's football team. Green MP Katrin Göring-Eckardt, who is also the deputy leader of the German federal parliament, appeared to be referring to a recent survey that found 21% of respondents would prefer to see more white people in Germany's squad. This team is truly exceptional. Just imagine if there were only white German players, she wrote after Germany beat Hungary 2-0 in the Euro 2024 tournament. But after criticism on social media, including from fellow MPs, Ms. Göring-Eckardt deleted the post and apologized for the way it was phrased. She later took to X, formerly Twitter, again to explain herself, saying, "It upset me that 21% of Germans would prefer it if there were more whites in the national team. I'm proud of this team and hope that we can convince the 21% too." One of the world's rarest cats, the Iberian lynx, is no longer classed as endangered, according to a report by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. On Thursday, the IUCN, which categorizes species according to the level of risk they face in a red list, bumped the Iberian lynx from endangered to vulnerable after a significant surge in numbers. Its population grew from 62 mature individuals in 2001 to 648 in 2022. While young and mature lynx combined now have an estimated population of more than 2,000. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
HSA's Urgent Care Clinic is now open 7 days per week to serve you better. Visit our dedicated team at Urgent Care Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and weekends and public holidays, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. No appointment necessary. If you are experiencing non-life-threatening symptoms and conditions such as the cold and flu, sprains and cuts, earaches, nausea and vomiting, visit Urgent Care's walk-in clinic at the main entrance of the Georgetown Hospital, now open every day. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
At Kirk Market, it's so easy to eat well and find healthy options. With their fresh veggies from local farmers, hormone-free chicken, local seafood, and grass-fed meats, Kirk Market has delicious, quality food at the best prices. And you must check out their fresh salad bar, hot bar, and med bar for daily healthy options on the go. Their delicious dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients, such as prime meats and organic veggies. Eating great is important to me. That's why Kirk Market is my store. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and shop happy.
Born in Watering Place, Cayman Brac, on the 8th day of July, 1936, Captain Fred Elman Scott was the fifth child born to Nalio and Vera Scott. Not only did Captain Scott work the seas for over 52 years, but he was mathematically inclined. In the early 70s, Captain Scott received his first calculator, eventually moving on to computers. After retiring from sea, Captain Scott used his knowledge of navigation, his love for mathematics, and general knowledge to write various computer programs that would impact the lives of the people of the Cayman Islands, such as payroll calculation and a program that could tell the depths at any point of the Georgetown Harbor, which would allow him to give any ship in port the coordinates to drop anchor. However, his pride and joy was his weather program that could detect when a storm formed anywhere in the world and was able to track and forecast its path. To create this program, He first drew the world map by using actual coordinates from the various coastlines around the world, including the most minute coves. This information would be transmitted by his shipping mates from around the world, making him the local reliable source on storm predictions.
The Water Authority of Cayman wishes to advise its customers of a planned service interruption and traffic disruption on Edward Street and 4th Street on Sunday, 23rd of June, 2024, to facilitate infrastructure maintenance as part of the Georgetown Revitalization Initiative. There will be road closures at the intersection of Edward Street and 4th Street between the hours of 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Traffic diversions will be in place, and motorists are encouraged to drive with caution when in the area. Customers on the following roads will experience temporary service interruption between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. on 4th Street and Edward Street between 4th Street and Dr. Roy's Drive. Customers on the following roads may experience temporary service interruption between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. if it becomes necessary to expand the scope of works. On Albert Panton Street, Mary Street, and North Church Street between 4th Street and Mary Street. The Water Authority appreciates the patience and understanding of its customers and the public as it upgrades the water infrastructure and apologizes for any inconvenience caused.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Prescription refills made easy at Savannah Pharmacy. WhatsApp your prescription refills to 929-5045.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks to Honourable W. McKeeva Bush and MP Chris Saunders for sharing with us proposed motions that now for the listening public. Our Parliament is set to convene
5th of July.
Yeah, in short order, right? So
on the 5th, 5th of July.
And these are motions that will, in addition to the third motion that you bring in?
Yeah, there is a third motion about cyberbullying. And I think everybody understands what that's all about. We just can't continue down the road where people can just say anything and which brings a lot of effects on people and their families, psychological effects, all sorts of different things are happening to people. I heard something with one young girl a couple of days ago. And I said, how in the world that could happen? I mean, how people can carry on like that?
Many times parents and adults are unaware of what is really happening.
Yes, so, people might go and take their own lives. But we haven't filed it yet because it's still being worked on. But I think by tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow should.
And
Chris is good for that sort of thing.
So he's good for something then?
For plenty of things. No, Chris has shown his worth in government. And certainly very valuable. At least I still support him. And will continue to support him in Bordentown West. The motion on the road safety, listen, it is frightening at times. I keep saying, where do these people think they're going? They come in hell-bent just to get one car ahead of you.
Yep.
Monday, they had all that rain going through Industrial Park, which floods easy because we know that was a swamp. And it still floods easy, and then some of the places are built up higher too, so make roadway. And some of the trucks I see coming there, when that truck coming full speed, and this is water that is at least 1.5 feet deep, but this huge trucks coming, and when that they splash all over my car, right?
Yeah.
Small cars, them Honda Fits they call them, They were doing the same thing, and I said, but don't these people understand that this is water? And they just go in some areas, in some areas that are residential areas, that are low, the car coming full speed, water rushing to people's house. That's been happening here. But on top of all of that is a dangerous driving.
Right.
And this courtesy that I showed by drivers today, right? We have to take some measures because a lot of the deaths that have been caused by people not paying attention to road safety.
Right. If I may ask, as part of the motion talks about enforced road safety, there are many in the community who allege that many of the vehicles are not only are they not licensed, they're not inspected, they're not insured. The drivers themselves may not necessarily have a valid driver's license. Can that be somehow addressed?
I don't know. What we're asking for several things to happen. They have to do some of the things that we're happening. They're going to have to go through quite a bit of areas, to things like that, ensuring that people on the road should be on the road. And they're going to have to pay more, traffic departments going to have to pay more attention to these matters because our roads are not built for speed.
I mean, we've seen... sorry, Mr. Saunders?
No, and I think I remember at one point. I think we had even closed down the traffic department, didn't we?
I think they did that. One commissioners did that.
Yeah, and I think it goes to show that most of the time the things that you don't pay attention to are the things that naturally get out of hand sometimes.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the issues. But I mean, I have an issue right now, even in my community, where people come from the Eastern District, be cutting through Northward and coming up through Wilty. And then the residents in Wilty is having a warm time in the morning, even getting out because of all of this. So we're trying to work something out where we can get that don't turn into Northward between like 6 and 9 a.m., that kind of stuff, to discourage people from that. But we really and truly need the East-West arterial.
Yes.
That is something that is mandatory. And this is the 20th year now since we had since Hurricane Ivan. And the thing about it is this, we still have a situation that once you pass Savannah Meadows, the entire Eastern District is literally cut off. Like you have an accident up there, it shuts down the entire Eastern District from the rest of the island. And that in itself is something that we cannot allow to continue. I mean, I remember when was it Mariners Cove?
Yeah.
During Ivan, that basically came out in the middle of the road. And I mean, this is something that's been gazetted for so long, and because of a certain group of people, we have not been able. For us in Eastern District, traffic is really a problem. The amount of productivity that we lose, people getting up when it's still dark and going back home when it's still dark. I mean, literally no sunlight at home and that kind of stuff. And then we wondering why are some of our people having vitamin D deficiencies and all that kind of stuff. So it's about the quality of life of people. And it's about taking steps to really improve their quality of life. And Sterling, I will say this, and going back, as I said to Mark, nothing that we're saying here is new.
No.
But it is up to the people to directly sit down and say, you know what? Let us try this. Let us go this way. It's real up to the people. And that's all we can depend on is make the case, and for people say, you know what? We're going to support this. We're going to give this a go.
I mean, Chris is absolutely right about what's happening in the Eastern District. It is a crying shame that we could have gotten something done by now, and we have not been able to do it because we're protecting lime lizards and iguanas.
Green iguanas.
Yeah, well, I don't care which one.
Okay.
Because they might be important to our ecosystem to some extent, right? But our children, our people are more important. And when you got to get up 4 o'clock in the morning to take 4 hours to get from the Eastern District, drop your child at school, and you're still not getting there, trying to get him there at the opening time for the school, that is not happening at times. So it is a crying shame that we have a situation in place that is stopping that from happening and can stop more than that, right? And there's a big debate going on, as we all know, about what will happen with the council, right? But we have to make some changes, not destroy the law. I hear Green Parent talking about gutting the law. He made it and he didn't tell people the truth about it. I sat there and he promised certain things and they can't happen. The opposite has happened from what he said would happen. I don't believe that he even told his colleagues the whole stories about what that law would eventually do. And so we cannot continue down that road. We're not going to have road safety the way we want it. I mean, the discourtesy and all this speeding and stuff, that have nothing to do with the environment to that extent. This is our people and others who come in here not showing the road safety issues that they need to, right? But we do have a situation because matters to do with the environment are hindering the thing from going forward. And they can say what they like, and they can tell all sorts of stories and bring out all sorts of statistics. The facts are what they are. People are hurting in the eastern districts because of not being able to get that highway built sufficiently.
Okay. I believe we have a call. I know that shortly our guests will have to get back to their other plans, but thank you so much.
And I want to say that you can take that call.
Yeah.
We're not gutting we have good legal advice to make some balance in that operation. That's what I want, a better balance.
That was a slogan, I believe, sometime ago.
2000.
Let's take this call. Hey, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yes.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, not too bad. How about yourself?
Pretty good, and good afternoon to you, Jeff.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I have some things roughing on me. I was trying to call Lucy yesterday, couldn't get it. I was trying to call you, Sterling, couldn't get through. So I'm going to throw it off now and ask you to give me the opportunity to speak what I want to speak about. And you all, if you all want to answer some of these questions, you all is more than free to. If it doesn't apply to you, it's okay too. I am just distraught to see the way the Cayman has hated and still hating. And you all is there mentioning something about the traffic and the people that come here and, look out into Caymanians and otherwise, property-wise, I would assume, and so forth. I want to ask you guys, but I don't want you to answer me now. Don't let me say what I want to say, and then you all can, answer the question when I hang up the phone. Okay. I want to know where there's an opportunity, 2024, for the people of the Cayman Island, and I am talking about people who are born in this Cayman Island. Where are their chance to own something in this island? Why is it that we have no beach? You have to end up with a beach access. Why is the 7 miles such condos and line up with all these cones that you can't park up there to go and walk on to this trap that we have inherited from the purchase of selling here and there to the investors and the private owners, that we end up with a track road to get down to the beaches? I think that's a very big slap in the face. And I want to know someone was ever get sick on the beach there and ambulance or the guys with the stretchers got to break their neck to run down that quicksand to try to save somebody's life. What are the chances of saving that individual life? Mr. Bush, I addressing this one to you. In the last 12 years that you've been in government, can you tell me, and this is nothing personal, this is just a concern for my people of this island, because I got family members who's out here suffering. In the last 12 years, can you tell us, if you don't know it today, how many of our Caymanians has gotten a home or a piece of property purchase in the last 12 years in this island, with all of this investment that's going on this island and all of this free concession of bringing in their goods to build these hotels? And why ain't the Caymanians working in the hotels? And why there ain't no Caymanian dishes in these hotels? I am not targeting you, Mr. Bush. You got just as much blame as all the other politicians in that house that did not look out for the Caymanians to extend. We are at the point now that Caymanians can't even get a piece of property. We are sold out. And no government can time on the radio. When you can't tell nobody what to build when they purchase a piece of property, I agree with you 100%. But that's what we got a planning department for. You're gonna build something, and then you're gonna give the government X amount of space to add to our roads, and then you're gonna go and put these spikes down that you can't use it to go onto the 7 miles or park up there if you break down or wherever the case may be. I mean, Mr. Bush and Mr. Saunders, I think this is your first time into the house, is it? Is this your first time in the house?
Second.
Second time in the house. Well, Mr. Saunders, no disrespect to you. I don't know what you're going to do to help this island, but it will be a miracle, and God will have to be in the middle of it. And Mr. Bush, it has to be a miracle for you to do something now to help our Canadian that is suffering. I have a daughter that needs somewhere to live right now, and needs to buy a piece of property, needs to buy a home, and because of the cost of living, and the cost of living for the property and the home, it is not at her requirement or nobody's requirement. When I came in and go to the bank, I turned down the next person because they can't buy a home. But yet, if you can go out there and pay $1,800 to $2,000 for a one-bedroom, and if you don't pay that, you're going to be kicked out on the street. Need assessment, need to be rerouted. They are helping who they want to help. License department needs to clap on it. Immigration needs to clap on it. And you guys are talking about traffic. Let me tell you something. We ain't seen nothing yet. I'm talking about the people that come in here. Well, I just want to say the government is part of why we got so many people, and they're planning on getting more. And where are they going? Where are they going to live? And where's the road for them to drive on? And Mr. Saunders and Mr. McKeeva, even opening that east, whatever, coming from east, it's not going to make a piece difference for those that are coming down. Because they got to come down early to get a parking space on their job. And they can't move that car until it's time to go home in the evening. Because when they come back, the space has been taken. We got businesses parking on the side of the main road that need to stop. Mr. Bush, you've been there long enough to know what we're going to here. Mr. Saunders, your second term, I don't know how much you can get done, how much Mr. Bush can get done at this age, at this time now. But let me tell you something. Cayman has gone to hell in a handbasket. And it doesn't even make sense to vote anymore because then we go out there and we vote for people and they can't do nothing for us. They look at the high-end people that come in here to invest and to get us, and they are kicking on the street left, right, and center. I am very upset because my Caymanian people is suffering. Left, right, and center. A little gift card once in a while and so forth here and there is not enough. They need shelter. The kids go to school, they can't learn nothing because the house is not situated for a proper air condition or a proper fan. It's 3 or 4 people sitting in one bed. I mean, Mr. Bush and Mr. Saunders, I don't know what your plans are for next year. But let me tell you something. When you all start a run for campaign, do not promise the people of the Cayman Islands anything. Don't say, I can do. You can tell them, I can see what I can get done. And it's not very much can be done because the 7 mile stretch is taken away. Look at the public beach. Look at the public beach. Where are those taxi drivers going to go when that hotel say that we can't come down and park up to make us 80 cents per dollar to come out here and buy a local bread that costs $3 and change? Let me tell you something. I'm very upset right now. I'm not here to throw my steam up for you guys, but I am fighting for my country. I'm 68 years old this year, and I have never seen Cayman like this in my entire life. And our children and our people are hurting desperately. They don't want anything for free. They want to be able to go and work, make their salary, go to the bank and get a loan, and get a home. Now the bank will give you a $50 loan to buy a car that can't give you $50,000 to go and put down a down payment on a house. Now you won't tell me that is right. Mr. Bush and Mr. Saunders, I wish you all well with this next election coming up. But I can tell you one thing. Not very much can change unless we close on our immigration, that license department, and much more. And much more.
All right. Thanks very much. Mr. Bush?
I want to...
I'll let Chris go.
Yeah.
I do want to speak to them. Just say quickly that in my first time that I was minister, we got and through the housing program, 169 homes. The next time that I was a minister, we got more. The next time that I was a minister, in 2009 to 2012, we built 60 homes at that time. And now, the government now is how projected and just built 20 more in my area, so many in the East End, so many in Cayman Brack, so many in, I think, Georgetown as well. And so I had to say that I have the exact numbers. I know Minister J is working hard at putting some housing in place. We just broke ground for a new development in West Bay for, I think, some 60 homes or more, right? So no, by far we're not getting the numbers that are required by people anymore. We hearing about 800 applications and all this sort of thing. So, no, we're not hitting that kind of mark. And I just hope that they will give a government enough time. This one doing so many. And there are things that we are trying to do now to address that issue. But, yeah, there's a lot of room for improvement. And if you listen to the motion that I talked about earlier, about Caymanians and Caymanian ownership of business, many things are addressed that she mentioned in her discussion just now.
I want to thank that caller for calling in, and you can hear the frustration in her voice, and I can tell you I feel the frustration. But certainly I'm going to say this much, and this is the part of politics that I guess I'm going to be criticized for the most. Is I'm going to go to a headline here on the 7th of January 2022 that the Compass had. The headline read, 41 PR grants revoked for non-payment. That happened the first year I was there, where we went through and we said to the guys, listen, people not paying their PR, they can't stay. It's as simple as that. Sterling, the knives came out when that position was taken. I want to go to the following month, February 28, 2022. The headline read, 10,600 work permits deferred over the last 10 months. We had over 3,000 Caymanians on stipend. We could not give away jobs, and then if the stipend ended, where would the people go to work? And I've said this publicly, and I'll say it again. That night, when I tell you, and I'm going to use the word, the knives came out, the only two members in government that stood by me that night was Kenneth Bryan from Georgetown Central and Bernard Bush from West Bay North. Everybody had something to say because the business community was up in arms. And at that point, I realized that was the first time I knew I wasn't going to last in the government that night. And that night, I was so upset, I even left the caucus chat group. The little caucus chat group, I just left. I'm like, I even said to Sean that night, I don't think I can last long. I'll never forget that. Then, shortly after I left the government, they didn't even wait till the cabinet meeting. The headline read, we had agreed where temporary work permits had to be advertised, even on the government portal. That's at least to give our people, because we realized that abuses started in the temporary system before it went to the grants. And we wanted to nip the abuses in the thing there, in the bud. And then you had advertisement not required for temporary work permits. That was on the 9th of February, that headline came out. And by 31st of March, it says Cabinet repeals requirement for temporary jobs to be advertised. I say all of this to say, when all this was going down and the knives were coming out, I listened to the talk shows and everything else. Not one person, and I'm going to say this, not one, got up and said, you know what, finally, the government is doing something to deal with immigration, to give Caymanians opportunities. I took my licks, the business community, everybody, they brand me socialist, they brand me everything under the sun, as if I'm trying to start business. But then by the time the unemployment rate came out, and it was one of the lowest ever since we've been tracking for Cayman and unemployment, all of a sudden the policy was working fine. And everybody went and took credit for it. But the decision that had to be taken to make that a reality, basically, no one wanted to share in. Now, I'm going to talk about housing. Every country around the world, every country except China, have an housing issue. And the reason we have this housing issue is simply this. This is the first time in human history, first time ever, we have 4 generations working together. Literally an 18-year-old working alongside an 81-year-old inside a workplace. Never happened before in recorded history. And what used to happen before was that the grandparent would leave their house to either their parent, to either their child or their grandchild. Now the grandparent is living longer. There was a time when China was out building cities that were empty. And the world was laughing at China, saying, look at them, when Eskimo got money, they buy ice. China recognized the problem that was coming along, that people are living longer and that there is an housing issue. And China went out and were building cities that were empty, sat there for years that were empty, and we laughed at them. No one is saying anything now because all of those cities are filled. All those buildings are filled. And the only person that's left now out, recognizing that every country is a generational housing short everywhere around the world. Now, to give Jack his jacket, I'm going to give Dr. Frankie credit. Dr. Frank, when he was a minister, was it 03, 04, thereabout, under your government, Mark, raised the issue of the housing shortage. But there was no public support for it or whatever because they see that government shouldn't get involved with it. Frank calling everybody else for building their homes. Government needs to start at that. With a little bit of money that Frank had, Frank tried a thing. He did what he could with the money that he had. And we spent more time criticizing the houses that Frank built without recognizing Dr. Frank. I don't think that. We spent more time criticizing the houses that Dr. Frank had built as opposed to the fact that, wait a minute, what Dr. Frank said is that we have a housing problem. We have a housing shortage and it's a generational issue. Now we find ourselves in this situation. And that's the reason why I said that Joey's motion that he brought was actually important in the sense that we have been out there for years guaranteeing Caymanian mortgages to buy a home. Mm-hmm. That guarantee means nothing if no homes are being built. And to give Joey his credit for the motion that he brought, it was a motion that was actually encouraging the government to actually support people who were building homes to Caymanians. Because that is the only way in which the government cannot build all the homes that Caymanians require. The waiting list alone for National Housing Trust is about 600, 700, 800 people. And that's just what we have now. Every year we got 1,000 kids coming out of school, you know. You know what I mean? So we need to sit down, and I want to give Minister Jay's credit for his passion that he has maintained, and even updating the National Development Plan and everything else with it too, is that these are the conversations that we need to have with people that nobody wants to have. And whenever people bring them up and they're happening, there's no support for it. People go silent. But the minute it's not being done, that's where all the noise comes from. Mm-hmm. And this is where the community and the society has to sit back and say, wait a minute, you cannot come back and tell me at 51 years of age, because I'm old enough to remember, when those guys are doing certain things and certain politicians are doing certain things and so forth, the licks that they took. Like I wrote earlier, the licks he took on pension. No, that's very pension that people didn't want in this country has become a saver for people during COVID and even a saver for people now. The very thing that they didn't want to happen. Mm-hmm. You know, so our people need to sit down and recognize that if you want politicians, that's only when you come and talking about stuff for the next election. There's not much you can get done in a 4-year period, not when a problem takes 10, 15, 20 years to manifest itself. You know what I mean? And this is where the longevity comes in the sense that you're not going to get everything right. You know what I mean? But at least at the end of the day, recognize that people have a plan. Mm. And I can guarantee you, assure, as the sun will shine tomorrow, that if we don't sit down and nip and start giving Caymanians opportunities in their own country, I want to tell you, there's a mindset that's brewing in this country. When business people sit down and say to me, oh, Chris, I like your sound, but you scare me when you talk. I say, okay, now, ask me who scare me. Because I can tell you some of the young people I'm talking to. When I finish talking to them, I go and I say to Sean, boy, I sorry for whoever I got to deal with them, you know. Because they see their parents play by the rules and get nowhere. You think they're going to come behind and play by the same rules? It's not happening.
And on top of that, they want immediate gratification.
Exactly.
On top of that.
You
They
know,
want
so,
things done now.
You know, so at the end of the day, and those very same people that raise these issues, but they will tell you nobody like a bad news bear. Nobody wants nobody to come out and tell them the reality of it. Because they want the optimism, they want the feel-good thing. I can tell you straight up, it's not happening. None of life.
Well, James, I know that the program is yours, but you also reminded me that you got other things to do. So the invitation is to come back when your schedule allows. We will certainly clear the calendar to ensure that you can.
I want to say this, just for historical fact, that when the big portion of 7 Mile Beach was gave away, I don't think I had been born. I born in 1955. I think that agreement must have been around 1950. We go a long time, and the properties that are being built on today have been for years not owned by Caymanians. The Caymanians sold it. A few of them got it stolen from them, but they sold their land. And we grow up in this kind of community, this kind of society, with the belief and an understanding that we cannot make you do certain things with your land. And I think that's some of what is being trying to do now with people, the council telling people that if you got 27 acres of land, you can only do 6 acres of it. You think Caymanians who have property for their value can sit down and take that? No. And so when these people complaining, and they complain that I've been there a long time, yes, maybe I wouldn't be there the next time. But they better understand, and Chris just spoke about it, you don't fix problem in 4 years that takes years to manifest itself. And Caymanians who will not understand, because some don't want to understand, that certain situations have existed for years and we sat down and done nothing.
Listen, my first person I supported politically is Roy Borden in Borden Town. And Roy tell people don't sell the land, lease it. They call him a socialist and they voted him out. And now, I can guarantee you that they wish they'd listened to him. Dr. Frank, more than 20 years ago, which is one generation, raised the issue about the housing shortage. They threw him out of office too. They voted him out. Because at the end of the day, they want the people to sit down and tell them the good news, the good this, the good that. And the reality of it is, it's not pretty. And now, the chicken has come home to roost. So, I understand what people are feeling, but I'm going to tell you, Sterling, and I've said it before, we did not get into this position overnight. We're not going to fix it overnight. But equally, we also do need to recognize that in a country with this much resources, for so many people to be struggling, there's got to be some element of a deliberate attempt. Because you can't have a country with 40-something thousand Caymans where the government is spending over $1 billion a year, which is roughly $25,000 per person. And people are struggling the way that they're struggling.
No.
Unless, of course, it is deliberate. And the thing about it is this, we laugh at people when they get up and they talk about these elite groups out there that, the World Environment, the World Economic Forum and all them kind of stuff there, where people sit down and plan and all of this kind of stuff. And we laugh at them when people highlight these things. But the truth of the fact is people are doing it. People are sitting down, just as though we're here right now, sitting down thinking, how can I make money with the least amount of effort? And that has always been the issue. And that's the reason why I said, because of this, it has actually prompted me to go back to say, wait a minute, where did the middle class originate? What did the middle class do to become the middle class? Where did we go wrong? And what it is that we need to fix? You know what I mean? And you'll be surprised. Yeah. But it will require time and it will require effort.
All right. Well, please accept the standing invitation to come back on and have these discussions, both in your personal and elected capacities. So enjoy the rest of the week.
Just to thank you, Dwayne, for having us.
Yes, sir.
And to thank Chris for coming.
Thanks for the invitation, too.
As being part of the motion that we want to move.
Thank you for letting us have this forum to be able to enlighten the listeners, and looking forward to the discussions in the next sitting on the 5th of July. Right? All right, to listeners, stay tuned. We've got more discussion. We will return.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymanational.com today.
Summer's heating up, and so are the good times. Whether you are out on the water, enjoying the beach, or gathering with colleagues for an office bash, make it a feast to remember with Subway. From assorted sandwich platters to mouth-watering cookies, our catering menu has something for everyone. Perfect for groups of 5 or more. For food that's fresh, fast, and perfect for any occasion, choose Subway Catering. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
You know who this is? That same old girl that went to Hollywood and Panama? Well, guess what? The fun ain't done yet, because this year, I'm going to country concerts in Denver. I got kick up my heels in Times Square. I got keep living the dream with Cayman Airways. We so blessed to have them. I tell you what though, this old girl's feeling younger than ever.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering international non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, Kingston, Mobay, La Ceiba, and Havana. Enjoy free rum punch, free in-flight entertainment, free seat selection, and free meals on select flights. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com. Speed into Dream Carnival with Digicel, Cayman's #1 5G network. Win day-wear packages and aftermath tickets by activating a 10-day Prime Pro bundle or paying your bill on time. Don't miss out on these epic events. Go to your nearest Digicel store today or activate a plan in the My Digicel app for your chance to start fetting today. Digicel, better connected.
Introducing the new Shoreline iMap. Discover over 300 plus public shoreline access points in the Cayman Islands by using a new digital interactive map of all the public access pathways and beaches. Test out the new Shoreline iMap today and get walking or driving directions, see 360-degree street views, and find out what amenities are available at any shoreline access point found on the iMap. Dive into a world of coastal beauty and adventure. Use the Shoreline iMap today by visiting gov.ky/shoreline. Presented by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
I was undercover and had just recovered the stolen artwork, but...
Aunt Angie, what does this have to do with managing my insurance?
Well, long story long. I found the art thief in France, but ended up becoming somewhat of a local celebrity. So I had to stick around for a while. But I was able to handle all my insurance needs with CG's online portal.
The online portal. Safe, convenient, simple. CG Britgay. Good like that.
Cayman, mark your calendars for the high-speed thrills of the third round of the 2024 C1 National Tour. Sunday, June 30th at South Sound Dock. Current division leaders Nathan McLean, Joshua Wattler, Caden Green, and Ryan Dixon look to defend their top positions on the open waters. But the rest of the pack is on the attack. Gather the family and enjoy a fun-filled day of thrilling races, delicious food, and cool treats. Admission is free. Be there to catch all the action live with the Cayman Islands Watercraft Association. Round 3 of the 2024 C1 National Tour. Sunday, June 30th at South Sound Dock, starting at 11 a.m. Proudly sponsored by Car City, Cayman Islands Coast Guard, Cayman Islands Fire Service, Pepsi, Fast Signs, J&M Equipment, Ministry of Youth, Sports and Heritage, Party Animals, Sea Breeze Charters and Jet Ski Rentals, Verdant Isle Farm, Health City, Cayman Islands, National Logistics, Onshore IT, Ministry of Tourism and Ports, Radio Cayman, and Breeze FM.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back and thanks for joining us. Again, thanks to members of our parliament, and as MP Chris Saunders referenced, MP, Mr. McKeeva Bush, the father of the House, so Honorable W. McKeeva Bush and Mr. Saunders, bringing legislation, proposed prior members' motions to the House. Now, we have the opportunity as scheduled, and thank to Mr. Philip Richter for giving us a few extra minutes of your time. So welcome, sir.
Welcome. Thank you for having me, and it's a beautiful day here in the Cayman Islands. I'm thankful to be invited to your show. I texted you earlier, like, am I still going to make it? Because the conversation, it's needed. All these new amendments.
And it's great that the parliamentarians, this is why like we Radio Cayman, we're accessible.
Mm-hmm.
We try to provide as impartial and objective a forum. We try to make the access as unfettered as possible so that any of the parliamentarians, they can come in and they can speak to the issues in their constituencies, to motions or discussions before the House, either upcoming, as in this case, or has transpired prior, or issues just generally. It's important.
It is important, and it's also important that this is an unbiased news outlet or broadcasting outlet, whatever you want to say, where a person can articulate their point of view in full without it being... even let's say you say something and it gets reworded for a headline just for clicks and whatnot. People can go back to this interview and see it in full exactly what you mean.
Hear directly from them what they said, that they can draw inferences from the tone and or the text of what was shared, but they can hear it directly. For me, and I stand by this until I'm corrected, and I don't think that would be possible in this instance. Radio Cayman isn't a radio station like other jurisdictions that's owned and controlled by the sitting government.
Right.
It's a radio station that is, funded through the allocation of the budget, but it's owned and for the benefit of the country and its people.
Exactly.
So that should tell us that our objectivity doesn't matter if it's the government of the day or the opposition. It doesn't matter if it's a former or aspiring parliamentarian. It's for people to be able to share. Now it's on us to use that opportunity, to be respectful and responsible when we share, but to participate. Because if we don't, then things transpire, and at the end of the day, we'll be caught flat-footed.
Exactly. I'm flat-footed. We're Birkenstocks. But I will say, we live in an information age, right? Where if you look at CNN right now, they're bashing the Republicans, saying, all these clips of Joe Biden seeming old and senile and lost, they're all AI fakes, right? But and I bring that up to say, in this information age which we live in, with everything coming straight to our phones, it's good to have a source like this that people can find the truth in its entirety before it gets used and manipulated for certain agendas.
It's interesting that you reference that. Thanks for it, because hopefully with discussions with you, people like you, others, that we start to see how easily it is for many of us to misunderstand something, for something to be misrepresented, to have something that we hear and not quite sure what it was. We're in and out of the car, we're half listening while we're doing something. But when something's presented to us, like a video,
right,
and it looks like, sounds like that politician, that celebrity, even the neighbor, your co-worker, you might think, oh, that must be what George or Jean was actually up to. And AI fakes, huh?
Oh, we'll get to AI fakes, but before we get into that, I just want to say, in terms of like language and whatnot, look what's happening with the National Conservation Bill. There's a lot of confusion around it from my standpoint. But one thing I don't think helps, well, I get, it's just my opinion, but when you have a news article with the word like gut, right? That's an action word, and mostly, when do you use that word? When you're gutting fish, right?
It's inflammatory as well.
It's I would agree with that. It is an emotion reacting word. It is a word used to get reactions out of people in not the positive sense. It's more spicier to say gut this legislation than it is to say amend this legislation. And in the news business, it's all about bringing traffic to your site, and that's an unfortunate nature of the beast. But I bring that up to say, if there were more discussions in long form on programs such as Talk Today and For the Record and others, then I would say the public would have more access to what is actually going on.
But to that, Philip, and the phone lines are there for those who want to share. And I like your analysis, your commentary, and your willingness to engage. But isn't it incumbent upon us, the parliamentarian, as well as the
average
regular
citizen,
person, to say, listen, what is happening? It's for us to accept the responsibility, to do the research, to read and to question, and to verify, to understand.
Yes, I look at it like this. It's outsourcing your trust, right? The common man has a job, right? A family, bills, things like that. They have to, they have their whole day planned from sunrise to sunset. They have their whole day planned. So it's important for the news. Let's say Radio Cayman 6 o'clock news. That is where I'm going to get my information from. It is trusted. It is approved. I don't have time to look through. I don't have time to read these documents. I don't have time to tune into the LA. But I know that I tune in at 6 o'clock, I will get the headlines. And if there's anything that interests me, I can then look further.
Right. So the objectivity and the impartialness, the accuracy.
Yes, exactly. There's a lot of trust in news sources for this. It's a lot to. Right. It takes a lot to get to create a news story anyway. All that information and going back to it, it's just the public outsource their trust to news organizations. But what the news organizations do with that trust, that is a conversation for another day.
So to that point, and we won't belabor it, but then if the news organization takes the information, as you were referencing, the discussions relative to the national conservation legislation, and whether you use headlines like gut, whether you share something in such a way that may give the reader or the viewer the impression that this is going to be what is happening, when in fact it isn't. Is that deliberate and malicious? Is that just the person or the people who reporting it themselves misinformed?
That's I would definitely say that there are biases. I mean, we're all biased. I would say if you want to look at the States as a great example, the only unbiased news organization coming out of America is C-SPAN. And it's not even a news organization. It is just public broadcasting. Whatever is said at this hearing is what's said.
Would you go NPR as well?
No.
No?
No.
Interesting.
No, I would just say C-SPAN. Everything else has a bias. Even when I was reporting news, I had my ideological biases, right? And I would do the stories that I liked, to push a certain narrative for things. And it is what it is. And it still exists to this day.
But that shows your maturity, your sense of intellect, recognizing that.
Yeah.
And let's take this call, though.
Let's take it.
Philip Richter sits across the table. He comes back again. It couldn't be bad the first time. Hey, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Erlen, and
good afternoon. Man, listen, the only thing good now, you'll be sitting across the table from us as well.
Well, yeah, just been busy these last couple of days.
All right.
Give thanks to God for that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a few mentions in regards to the National Conservation Bill and the ongoing controversy over it, and I want to agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Richter in regards to sensationalizing headlines, and it's how they're worded and how people perceive it based on the wording. And 9 times out of 10 people only read the headlines, maybe 2 lines out of the first paragraph, and then they formalize an opinion. So if you hear the term government wanting to gut the National Conservation Bill, there's nothing good surrounding that scenario based on that wording, right?
Right.
So it may lead to misconception of what is actually taking place, as opposed to saying government seeks to amend the current state of the National Conservation Bill for these reasons. And if it was worded and said in that way and then listed the reasons why, then we might have been able to formulate a more balanced opinion on it, and then did our own research and inquiries to find out what's really going on. But for me personally, I actually wrote a viewpoint on it just based on and sharing my opinion on what and how I interpreted what's taking place. But when I look at this at some of the issues, some of the key fundamental issues that I think government and any government probably would have had with it, in regards to how it was worded and the powers that one have in regards to delegating land that could be developed as opposed to what can't be developed. You know, there's a few factors I think that we overlooked, because if the DOE director has the power to determine who to determine who is required to conduct the EIA report, then I think that's a bit biased. I think it should be a completely neutral entity and body that both parties on both sides equally and mutually agree to. DOE shouldn't be saying, oh, well, you got to use this companies to do the EIA, right? And secondly, we as human beings that have created a development footprint on anywhere we are as humans, because 99% of the human population requires housing, schools, banks, hospitals, and all these different things, except for the people who live in the Amazon and live off the land. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So by us putting all of this development in a habitat that was natural to Mother Nature, we then have to do it in a sustainable way and be conscious of the environment around us, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So my question is this, especially on a small island like Cayman, where a lot of the development has been condensely narrated. Like, for instance, a lot of the major development Cayman has been pretty much primarily in a certain area. There's a lot of condensed development as opposed to balanced spread out.
Right.
And whenever we go out into the eastern districts that are largely not tampered with, then everybody is up in arms. Oh, well, you're mashing up the national environment, whatever. But my question is this, especially on a small island like the Cayman Islands, if our population continues to grow at the rate that it grows, are we going to say then that we should all live in the already developed areas and we can't develop any more land in order to accommodate the increase in population, in which is inevitable because that's a cycle of life? Now, again, and I know that might be a little bit far left, but it is a very reasonable issue, and it's a very fundamental problem if we say, well, because, all right, my long and short is this, is that I believe that we need to do a comprehensive study and review and find out what properties we want to call a national reserve and reserve it. And then, because to Sterling's point earlier, or to Mr. Saunders and Big Mac's point, and your point too earlier in regards to, well, if a person inherits 40 acres of land and these departments determine that they can only develop 6, and that's the only thing that the person inherited, and they wanted to generate their own personal wealth from it. So you think that they're going to take the 6 acres that they can now sell or develop and sell it for a reasonable price? That's going to naturally increase the cost, because if you are limiting the access to land, it's only going to increase the value of the land that you do have access to.
Right.
So there's a lot of issues that surround this, and for all the people who just looking at it from one side, saying, oh, well, we don't want to destroy the environment, oh, well, this and that, I totally agree. No one wants to deliberately destroy the environment if we can avoid it. But what happens when it comes to the point where it's unavoidable? Because if I have the right to work and I have the right to live and be healthy and have a house, that means that if I am given a piece of property, even if it's just one piece, and if DOE and National Trust or National Conservation Society decides, oh, well, you can't build on that, where do I go from there, though? Do they say, okay, here is some money for you to buy land in a zone that is okay for you to build on? I think that maybe, and I don't know, maybe the government took the wrong approach in regards to deciding to, okay, we're going to have these amendments. Maybe it should have been information given to the public prior to. I think there should have been, a better PR campaign to explain to the general public what the amendments are and what the impacts of the amendments mean and how it's going to all work, right? Because if we got to rely on a news platform to write an article with a headline saying government UDP or whatever the name of this government plans to gut the National Conservation Bill, and then you have an ex-premier who has been silent up until this point, goes on to the most uncredible news source in the Cayman Islands to try to defend the bill in which he hand-delivered for the Walker family, in which he admitted on the floor of the House that was the first thing, that was one of the things he worked on before becoming a politician, and promised that he would see it through. So one could see why it was done without properly looking at the wording and looking at the powers to be. So I just think that we need to be very, very cautious and careful how we get behind things and support them to the detriment of the sustainability and continuity of all the people in the Cayman Islands.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said enough, and I'll leave it there.
All right. Well, looking forward to having you join us. Invitation is there for you, so maybe soon is right. Thanks very much, my friend. All right, Philip, I know we want to chat, and as I look across to Susan, she's like, we got a news guy come. All right, we're going to pause, take the news. When we come back,
we'll continue this discussion.
All right, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. On Wednesday, June 26th, the Cayman Islands government will officially open its Asia office to establish and deepen strong public and private sector relations throughout the region. Deputy Premier and Minister for Financial Services and Commerce, the Honourable Andre M. Ebanks MP, the ministry's Chief Officer Dr. Dax Basteo, and Government's Deputy Representative for Financial Services to Europe, Julie Campbell, will travel this weekend to attend the commemorative reception at Swissôtel the Stamford in Singapore. In international news, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission has referred a complaint against TikTok and its Chinese parent company ByteDance over potential violations of children's privacy to the Department of Justice. The FTC says its own investigation uncovered reason to believe that the firms are violating or about to violate the law. In a statement to BBC News, a TikTok spokesperson said they were disappointed by the decision. A mysterious monolith has appeared in the Nevada desert over the weekend, sparking speculation as to what it may be and who is behind it. The structure was spotted by the Las Vegas Police Department, who said they saw it during a search and rescue mission north of the Las Vegas Valley. The monolith is similar to other similarly puzzling ones that appeared around the globe in 2020. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
Supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin are the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for listening, and thanks to Mr. Philip Richter for sitting in. I say this to you and to many of our guests who come in. The idea that you're willing to make time, share. It may encourage, inspire other people to feel courageous, to feel that they too have a voice, and they too must take up the mantle, recognize that for the democracy to be, promoted and it has for us to participate. I always appreciate that sometimes with Ms. Susan, we take the news a little bit late, take commercials. She's like, man, you give me work. So I really publicly appreciate that. But in the 24 minutes that we have left, Mr. Richter, let's see what we can do.
Let's see what we can do. If we can just touch on the national conservation issue, for lack of better words, it seems like it's a tribal war between two camps. There's those who want to develop, and then there's those who want to protect the environment. And it's just, right now, I would say it's just a battle of narrative and optics. It's...
There's a song, Tribal War. Come on, Susan. So a tribal, which is uninteresting.
Well, that's the most medieval way I can explain it. It's just two completely different entities, right? Two groups, right? One enjoys developing. That's how they make their livelihood. And the other loves the environment and want to protect it. And these two and their influence are fighting. Not physically in the streets, thank goodness. This isn't Gangs of New York. However, there is uncertainty right now. There are campaigns on social media for, I think it's called Don't Pave Paradise, right? And then, so that's the environmental side. You have organizations like Don't Pave Paradise and others spreading their message, right? And Don't Pave Paradise is doing a lot of, what's the word? There's a lot of information on there. For example, there's a whole facts and myths page, right? So there will be lines like, oh, the Conservation Council has blah, and it'll be like myth, and then this is the truth, right? So there's a lot of information on there that I would say has not been disputed. And on the pro-development side, the only thing I have seen, I, one man, I, one out of 8 billion people on this earth, I just want to make that clear, that I have seen, is a ghost-written WhatsApp message that was forwarded. Anyone could have written that. Anyone could have plugged that in on ChatGPT and just let it rip, put no name to it, and let it go. And it's like, well, how do you, in the battle of optics and narrative, how do you compete?
Listening to you, if what is being shared from either side is accurate, so fact versus myth, is one thing, then the public needs to discern. But I wonder to what extent, you said information, let's use the other word, disinformation.
What is information and what is disinformation? And to the point, is going back to the tribal wars, if we could come together and, I don't know, meet for steaks or something, right? And just talk it out. I think the two camps need to talk it out rather than fight in the popular square of opinions. Or the town square of opinions. There it is. That is how we will end the tribal war between the environmentalists and the developers over some fish and fritters.
And if we do that, right, it's that discussion, that dialogue, the willingness to engage in diplomacy to ensure that what we do doesn't divide. But we've seen it. We're seeing people saying, you can't have this. If you have this, in order to give this, you got to... why?
That's a great question. And again, I just encourage people to find a great spot that has fish and fritters and duke it out. Not duke it out, but talk.
No, I know
when two enemies are eating together, they're not fighting, right? And with this tribalism right now, it does seem like it's an us versus them
mentality. Break bread, not bones.
Break bread, not bones. And come on this show, Talk Today, or For the Record, and have it. You're a great moderator. You're a fair man. You are willing. You are, and there's a phrase you said, the willingness to engage in diplomacy. You are willing to engage in diplomacy. I am willing to engage in diplomacy. I wonder
Right.
if these two camps are willing to engage in diplomacy.
I appreciate you sharing that and acknowledging. I did do some mediation and conflict resolution for my own benefit in having people who would ask things, friends, discussions among spouses, businesses, and not knowing, all the technical stuff of what's going on, but recognizing that part of the issue is a miscommunication, a misunderstanding, a willingness for one, to stick it to the other.
Yeah.
All right. Or not willing to, well, what is it you're trying to say? And oftentimes, they want the same thing, they just have a different route to get there.
Exactly.
Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it has to be win at all costs. But that's where the diplomacy, the objective, impartial, sort of enter the sitting and trying to help them to negotiate. But there seems to be an unwillingness. I mean, our political landscape is one that's premised on a party system, which in itself is divisive, in my view.
Does Cayman have the party system? It did. And then it just kind of withered away to this quasi-independent system.
I would say no, and I agree with you, in that there's a discipline that comes with an organized, politics, a willingness to serve the interest. The challenge is when something is a zero-sum game, when something is about, winner takes all. And if you have a situation where you're going to benefit at another's expense, right? If in the Cayman context, a government is sort of coffers as well because of development fees, but there are concessions, on one side. Is there a meaningful balance? If there are people who are saying, well, if you do this, then the impact is such, and that's not true. If it's exaggerated, if people are confused, then the losers are not just today, generations down the road.
That's the thing about this us versus them and then this sport and this whatever. It's cool in sports, in baseball, football, cricket, whatever. But in a country, I mean, you're talking about sections of the population here, right? Don't you want people to live in somewhat in a harmonious state?
But even in sport, guide me. I mean, my view. You're watching a football match. You're cheering for Team A. The person next to you could be your friend. Could be just another fan.
Right.
Cheering for the opposite team. If the game is played to the high skill and both can enjoy it, whether it ends in a draw or one side winning and the other losing, right? The fans will benefit if the game is played in such a way that you see the skill, you see the sportsmanship, and you see all these things. I think we have a WhatsApp call if it is all possible. But is that...
I would say to your point before the WhatsApp call comes in, it's look at football. Let's take sports and let's go look at football hooliganism.
Yeah.
Do you think people want hooliganism at the events? No, let's just enjoy the game, and if and it will just be a joke between me and you if my team wins or your team wins. But end of the day, we're still friends, right? It's not Romeo and Juliet. You know what I'm saying?
Well, look how that turned out.
Exactly. There it is.
And to your point, if the game is played, then the fans go away, they sit, they break bread, they enjoy it, and
something to talk about,
right? But if it's the football hooligans, right, it makes the whole sport be soured. It takes away from the enjoyment. It takes away from the attraction of future fans, as well as future players, right?
And you're also inviting, I would say, quote unquote, the wrong crowd. Because if you're a team that has a section of your fan that love fighting, well, you're just going to attract anyone who wants to get in a fight.
Right.
And what does that say about you?
And how does that reflect on?
Yeah. So going back to politics,
right?
I would say it's in our best interest nationally to live harmoniously.
You're right. Now, one of our listeners messaged earlier. Let me tie this in, if I may.
Yeah.
I read it to you. It was talking about beach access and picking up on a comment earlier,
yes.
right? And the writer shares, the beach access should be renamed to water access because the high water mark was changed and it is to wave and not vegetation. And as I read that, I'm thinking that potential, as the writer shares, if we have access to our waterways and we can get there, it'll create the safety if something happens and a person is brought to shore, emergency services can get in because there's a identified accessible path.
Yes.
But you as the individual can also go and enjoy it. I'm not talking about people going on private lands and enjoying the pool, the cabana, the chairs, and the other amenities, but also those private lands should not be fenced or somehow constructed in a way that you are now limited to being unable to traverse the beach. So that vegetation of old, where primarily cocoa plum and the grape trees only grew so far, to maybe now where through ropes, fences, and other vegetation, they may be placed at the water's edge, so to speak.
That is a great suggestion.
I think it has merit. I also was considering on the roadside. A friend told me what they need. I got it wrote down somewhere, but I won't look for it. Those little sticks that they put on top of the road and impede people, along primarily Westway Road.
To stop people from parking on the side of the road?
It affects, I think, road safety. You can't pull over if an oncoming emergency vehicle.
Oh, right. I didn't even think about that.
You ever try to just pull off because your car is doing something and you're trying to figure it out?
Your tire blows out?
Yeah. You ever try to, again, how is that there? Is it legal? Is it with their permission?
A lot of questions.
I've asked. We have the final break though. And then I come back, I want to chat with you some more.
Yeah.
All right. Stay tuned.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Summer's heating up, and so are the good times. Whether you are out on the water, enjoying the beach, or gathering with colleagues for an office bash, make it a feast to remember with Subway. From assorted sandwich platters to mouth-watering cookies, our catering menu has something for everyone. Perfect for groups of 5 or more. For food that's fresh, fast, and perfect for any occasion, choose Subway Catering. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
If you're a parent, you know that providing your child with a quality early childhood education can be expensive. However, the Ministry of Education offers financial assistance through its Early Childhood Assistance Program to help qualifying Caymanian families cover the costs at registered early childhood settings. Visit our online application portal at moeapplications.gov.ky to learn more and get started. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Education.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
Cayman, mark your calendars for the high-speed thrills of the third round of the 2024 C1 National Tour, Sunday, June 30th at South Sound Dock. Current division leaders Nathan McLean, Joshua Watler, Hayden Green, and Brian Dixon look to defend their top positions on the open waters, but the rest of the pack is on the attack. Gather the family and enjoy a fun-filled day of thrilling races, delicious food, and cool treats. Admission is free. Be there to catch all the action live with the Cayman Islands Watercraft Association. Round 3 of the 2024 C1 National Tour, Sunday, June 30th at South Sound Dock, starting at 11 a.m. Proudly sponsored by Car City, Cayman Islands Coast Guard, Cayman Islands Fire Service, Pepsi, Fast Signs, J&M Equipment, Ministry of Youth, Sports and Heritage, Party Animals, Sea Breeze Charters and Jet Ski Rentals, Verdant Isle Farm, Health City, Cayman Islands, National Logistics, Onshore IT, Ministry of Tourism and Ports, Radio Cayman, and Breeze FM.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks very much for joining us. And in the studio, Mr. Philip Richter joins us. And tomorrow, I want to. Recently, a number of our listeners kept saying, "But tell us what's coming on tomorrow."
What's happening tomorrow?
And we do. Sometimes we don't.
Mr. You got to leave him in anticipation.
Well, Mr. Mario Rankin will be our guest tomorrow.
Oh, very exciting.
Yeah, Mario D. Rankin. The D for getting it done, Susan? D for dessert. I'm just kidding. So that's, and part of it is to encourage other people like yourselves to come on and share.
Yes.
It's not about consensus. It's not even about, just, it's about democracy.
It is a citizen's duty to be a part of the democracy.
Yeah, man.
We talk a lot about outsourcing trust.
Mm.
This is something I encourage people not to outsource, but to grasp with two hands.
All right.
Yes.
2 hands, huh?
2 hands. Well, if you get a third one, go ahead.
Hopefully not in the same person.
That would be a bit weird. But we were talking about information and disinformation. And one thing I had messaged you last night about is I keep seeing these artificial intelligence deep fakes, or whatever the terminology you want to use. They are not real images, but there is some entity out there in this world that is targeting Cayman using, I would say, notable Caymanians. For example, I think I sent you in the past Tara Rivers getting arrested with some makeshift headline about what she said shocked the world. Something really vague. But on first glance, you might be thinking, what am I looking at? When did she get arrested? But it's all fake. Now there's one with Noel Cayoso-Smith getting arrested, and it's like, what, why?
Mm.
But my question is, and not so much my question, but more my concerns is, what is real? It's going to be much harder to figure out what is real and what is fake, and what are these actions going to be doing to us, especially now. And we were just saying over the break, what if there was a deep fake arrest for the Conservation Council? How much outrage would that cause until it can be determined that actually this is not true? And under a year away, we're in election year. So we have this technology that is what I call perpetuating the war on reality, what is real. And then we have some serious issues happening in our country that require honest information.
Right. I wonder to what extent there's a capacity, whether through the policing apparatus or some other entity, to determine where these things are being created, how they are, and maybe limitations on their dissemination. Just curious, do we have that capacity? Are we even willing? I don't
even know where to begin on that question. I mean, this is just something I saw on social media. I would say it's funny. I mean, the way human life is going right now, the phone is just an extension of our. It's an organ that we hold.
Yeah.
It's
another appendage.
No, yeah. It is a part of us. It is a part of our daily lives. It is a part of everyone's life.
Right.
But the joke would be, just turn off your phone. Don't look at what's happening on social media, and then that's how you would know what's real and and not.
Try that.
But yeah, good luck. Nobody's doing that. Our lives are way too connected on a device with apps. It's insane the amount of influence apps like Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Gmail, LinkedIn have on our lives, have on our mental health. It's we can get into that on a future discussion, but it's a heavy subject.
Let me ask, as we speak to Philip Richter, you reference about these deep fakes or AI generated things that look so real.
Mm-hmm.
What about something, whether it's based here or many of the people who are here, I'll use the word subscribe to it, right? So you make sure I'm using the right terminology, but and this thing, let's call it social media.
Mm-hmm.
Let's use the word that in my day, if you used it, it was a bad word. Oh, look who influencing you. That was a negative word. Nowadays, what are you? You're an influencer.
To think for yourself.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Your parents would say to you, "Mind, you be influenced by this bad company." Yeah. It was not a good thing, right? But
Times have changed.
Yeah, to share that. What if something exists, and it's a social media account, and people listening to it, and it has deliberately and consciously, or to you inadvertently and unknowingly, political and social commentary that influence how you see things. It's borderline derogatory, but certainly very, very, very telling about the way it presents messaging. It presents a society, the way it speaks to people. What is something that is happening in the Cayman space, and people are just watching it? Just a video, someone commenting on something that transpired, posting something. I wonder how that, is affecting the psyche of our young people, is influencing the behaviors of us. It's causing us to look at ourselves in a less than stellar way.
I wonder too. Just off the bat, loaded question first and foremost. We'd need a whole extra hour just to go through that. But first, just off the bat, you can look at the links that social media has with people's self-esteem, right? They have a thing now called fear of missing out. Before, let's say you were sick and someone in your class threw a cool party, but you couldn't go. Right? Oh, well, you're sick. And, people would just tell you after on Monday or Tuesday that, it was a great party. But now, in real time, you can see what you're missing. How do you think that makes people feel?
And it's exaggerated.
Oh, it's exaggerated.
Right? And it's edited real time. And you see this thing that creates a narrative, a word that you used earlier, of probably not at all what transpired. But it's made to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Right?
What is real?
Yeah. Now, where does that leave us as parents or as individuals? How do we ensure that there is accuracy, honesty, integrity in these presentations?
That is a great question. I am not the one to answer that question. However, I do believe, let me pull it up. It's in my catalog of books. It is called... Oh boy.
And I think as you look for that, maybe it is incumbent on many of us to start to appreciate that much of what is happening is only happening in absence of us being very proactive, constructive, deliberate, conscious, and not allowing it to happen. Someone posts something, we just repost it, we just look at it, we don't critique it, we don't hold a person accountable.
No. And to your point, we live in an age where everything is so fast. If you look at a TikTok video, it's 10 seconds, and then there's another one, 10 seconds, then another one, 10 seconds. So you've seen 3 completely different videos in 30 seconds. That's not natural. Right? And if you look at 10, 15 years ago, TV days, a commercial would be a minute, 2 minutes. They wouldn't be bam, 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 bam.
But they're getting shorter and shorter.
No,
right?
they're shredding our attention. So the name of the book, which I recommend, is called Stolen Focus: Why You Can't Pay Attention and How to Think Deeply Again by Johan Hari.
Stolen Focus.
Stolen Focus: Why You Can't Pay Attention. In that book, I believe you may not find the answer you are looking for, but I do believe you will find answers for other questions you may have.
Well, the reference in that reminds me of the bilateral brain, right? And the need for us to look at things, and as you shared, to appreciate that they're now recognizing that the way you scroll through. So if you're
you know what they call it? They call it doom scrolling.
Doom scrolling.
Doom scrolling.
Okay, I didn't know that.
What a disgusting term. And it's just for people, if you just see someone just scrolling aimlessly, like a zombie, ugh.
It's not infuriating.
I'm guilty of it too. But it's like I said, the phone really is our newest organ.
Right.
That,
Well, apparently they recognize that through algorithms that we used to go from left to right, and those who read that direction on the screen. But if you go top to bottom, up and down like this, you spend more time and you become more engaged, less focused, and your time is stolen. Right?
Yeah.
If you're going left to right as you would normally, for those who read in that direction, you spend less time, you see more. But interestingly, if you speed read, so to quote, on your phone, you do the same on your physical text, right? You pick up a book and you're scanning. Not that you're getting any more information, but you now become conditioned, accustomed. to looking at it in a book as you would on the screen, and you miss so much. So recognizing that's what's happening, what are we going to do about it?
What are we going to do? How much time do we have left?
Well, for me, I figure God has promised me another 70 years. For the show, Susan say you got 70 seconds, boy.
Okay. Well, I would like to shift gears. There's one point I've been aching to get out there. We are under a year away from the election. And there are a lot of people, and what Chris Saunders alluded to, there are certain areas of our voting population that are quite frustrated and furious, and these feelings of frustration can lead to electing someone who can be considered a far right or left, but far, emphasis on that word, a candidate, and what that damage can do to the country is a lot. However, where are the new hopefuls out there? I see little rumors and mutterings here and there, but where is the Martin Luther King I Have a Dream speech? What is the new vision for Cayman? You can sit there and debate your policy all you want. That's cool. But when are you going to go out in the streets? When are you going to start holding rallies? When are you going to start organizing? Or are you just going to wait 3 months or when it is nomination day and then you're going to promise everyone in the world and be surprised when no one elects you because no one knows who you are and you're Johnny-come-lately?
Why do you think that is, though?
Because, I don't know, I don't think people understand how to run campaigns. The parties do, or the one party did.
That is
There's only one party left.
Possible solution.
Look at every candidate. Most politicians have lost their first race. For example, Kenneth Bryan in 2013, I believe he ran under the PPM, lost. But he stayed relevant in his area. In 2017, he won.
But he had support, right?
Yeah, he had support, but he stayed in his area, and people knew that during the off season, right? Let's look at elections as on season. During the off season, he was relevant. Isaac Rankin ran in 2017, lost, but stayed relevant in his community and won in 21. And the list goes on. The point I'm making is I think people just run in the election cycle, lose, and just, see in 4 years, and wonder why nothing changes. I think to really grab the voter and show, hey, I do care about you. I'm not gonna promise you the world, but you can see me out here year after year, that we are outside doing
things. I certainly want to have another discussion on it.
We will talk about this.
My initial response is that, yes, there is some merit in what you shared. I would venture that two things transpire. In the absence of support, financial and also physical family support, that candidate who's unsuccessful probably is challenged to continue the momentum, right? But secondly, I think too there is this understanding that you're punished at the polls, right? And when you go out and you campaign for something and you're unsuccessful, or you were elected and now you have lost re-election, we seem to have this view in the society, we're going to punish that person instead of embracing, assisting, ensuring that that person still has something. I don't know if it's the...
I hear what you're saying about the punishment, but I would say the parties or the groups that have punished have, and this is a longer list, but the nuts and bolts of it is that those candidates, some of them who were quote-unquote punished and decided that I don't care about your punishment, I'm going to stay relevant, they have succeeded.
Here's something that might gain traction with some, more than likely will cause people to punish me for it. But instead of having, this multi-party system, what do we have a party of Cayman, right?
Well, we only have one party, and that's the PPM. Yeah. The rest are just independent.
But some would say that the PPM is now defunct, as it should be. But have a Cayman party, a group of people who are elected to work for the betterment of the country, who don't see themselves as opposition or government in waiting, who see the interests. Singapore comes to mind, right? From the perspective that we're electing people as if we were appointing a board of governance or board of directors to a country as parliamentarians. The board would be for the private sector entity to work for the betterment of the shareholders, the employees, all the stakeholders.
Isn't that why we elect people in the first place?
But if we are electing them and they're there seemingly to look good by making the other ones look bad, so the government in the day is going to beat down the opposition, the opposition is going to beat down the government, who wins?
Yeah, that is a great question. Who wins, especially when your country is facing things like a cost of living crisis and other.
We can see the losers, right?
Yeah.
Future generations and those immediate.
This calls for a longer discussion.
Well, I'm going to propose something to you.
Yes.
In a second. Thank you, Miss Susan. I know. She's like, just because you get paid to host a talk show and talk doesn't mean that you can talk and talk and talk. Well, Mario Rankin has accepted the invitation to join us tomorrow. We read something yesterday that he had shared. Others hopefully will join. And as Philip Richter said, we're a year out from the election.
Yeah. And because of this, I don't believe you're going to see much change, if not any change, because there is nothing to change to.
And with that, he puts down the gauntlet. Shall we pick up the mantle? And for those of us who have a dream, join me as we proceed. I see. Let me be here. It's a Thursday, and I don't have much time left for today. But thank you, Ms. Susan. Please accept the invitation for both of us to join Mr. Art tomorrow morning for a good political discussion on the record. Come back for talk today right after the midday news. Mario D. Rankin will sit with us. Hey, there might be somebody else across the table. We'll see. Stay tuned. Listen to Susan. She does well.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.